Going on, fellas? You want to know what destroys most people's lives? Most people think it's failure. It ain't that. Most people think it's the lack of talent. It's not that. Most people think it's just bad luck. It's not even that. What destroys most people's lives is compromise. Because, fellas, you got to understand, when you compromise, or at least when I used to compromise, I was not only discrediting myself, but I was devaluing my goals, I was devaluing my standards, and I was devaluing my effort. And then eventually I was devaluing myself because every time I chose desire over discipline, pleasure over purpose, comfort over growth, my subconscious mind was noticing it. And it's the same thing with you as well, fellas. When you guys choose the easy way or the easy route instead of the hard route, that at the end of the road will have a higher reward, your subconscious mind reads that. Fellas, even when you're not focused on something directly, your mind is always working and your mind is always watching. Your mind is always taking notes. Your mind is like storage, like a file cabinet, and every time you make a decision, it stores it in your mind. People think confidence comes from affirmations. That's not the case at all. Confidence comes from keeping the fucking promises that you've made to yourself. And when you start to doubt yourself, when you start to realize self-doubt, that's because you know deep down inside that the promises that you've made to yourself, the goals that you've written down, and the things that you said that you were going to do, you didn't come through with them. I used to do it all the time. I used to say, oh, I'm going to hit the gym 5 days a week. When in the beginning of my journey, I wasn't hitting the gym 5 days a week. That was my plan, but it was days where I chose to go outside rather than hit the gym. It was days where I chose to hang out with that chick than to hit the gym. It was times that I'd rather go out and have fun and have some drinks with my bros instead of going to hit the gym. It was even times where days where I just felt like just laying in the bed watching Netflix instead of making the hard decision and hitting the gym. Every time I told myself I'm gonna wake up early and then I don't. Every time I tell myself I was gonna stop drinking and I didn't. Every time I said I was gonna stop chasing women instead of my purpose and I didn't. My subconscious mind was building evidence against me. When I was making those decisions, my mind was basically saying like, he's not the man he says he is. He don't even keep his word to himself. He don't mean what he says. And eventually, fellas, I stopped trusting myself. I started feeling weak internally and started to doubt the goals that I've written out for myself. And that's because deep down inside, I realized that I was compromised. And the thing about compromise is it's dangerous because it never feels like compromise at the moment. At the moment, it feels harmless. You say one more drink won't hurt. You say just only one night won't hurt. One cheat meal won't hurt. A couple hours chilling with shorty won't hurt. One missed workout won't really hurt. Because honestly, fellas, our life isn't shaped on just one decision. But the thing is, fellas, those repeated compromises begins to become our identity. On the path to success, fellas, you need 3 things. First thing is you need direction. You can have the fastest car in the world, but if you're driving in the wrong direction, you're never going to reach your destination. And a lot of men are moving fast with no direction. Yeah, they're busy, but they're still lost. I'm thankful that I was catching this about myself, and it's one of the main reasons why I began to invest in mentorship, because the first thing I told my mentor is, I feel like I'm busy, I feel like I'm doing a lot of things, but I feel like I was just kind of in motion. I don't feel like I was actually going in that direction. I don't feel like I was actually improving. So yeah, I might have been doing things. I might have been busy. My body may have been moving. I may have been doing certain things, but are these certain things taking me in the direction that I was trying to go? And the answer was no. So it was like I was working hard, but I was working hard for nothing. It's kind of like jogging in the same place. You know, you begin to ask yourself, what am I actually building here? Because if your actions don't align with your destination, your effort is just going to become wasted motion. Some people say they want success, but then they spend all day scrolling on social media. Fellas, take it from me. I was one of those guys. I was spending 7 to 9 hours every day on social media. My screen time used to expose me all the time when I looked at my screen time at the end of the day. Even when I used to have the screen notification on where, like, you know, you can set the screen limit or whatever, and I used to set it for, you know, 45 minutes per app. But as soon as that screen comes up, as soon as you could bypass it by just putting in your password, I used to do that. So it was really pointless. I used to say I wanted to be disciplined, but I was hanging around people who were not disciplined. right? I used to say I wanted peace, but I was putting myself in toxic environments. Fellas, you got to realize something. The direction that you're going is way more important than the speed that you're going. That's why some men work for years and never evolve, because they never truly commit to the path. A man without a clear direction of his destination is a man that can be easily distracted. And distraction is one of the devil's favorite weapons. I spoke about it when I covered the book Bewitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, where he spoke about drifting in hypnotic rhythm. Basically, where you just find yourself keep doing the same thing unconsciously. You're not really noticing it, but you're actually drifting in the wrong direction, and you're being distracted by things that really bring you no value. And these things can include social media, scrolling on social media. A lot of times when we pick up our phone, the first thing we do is we check Instagram, and we're scrolling, and we can't even remember the last 3 pictures that we liked. We can't even remember what we actually saw on social media, because when we actually open up the app, our brain no longer is working. We're just in a zone where like our mind isn't working, and our eyes are just watching things scroll up and down on the screen. It is statistically proven, fellas, the average person loses significant productivity due to constant task switching and distractions throughout the day. Imagine losing hours of your day because your mind has no focus. Let me put things in perspective for you, fellas. I literally said I was spending 7 hours a day on social media. That's 2,555 hours a year. That's 106 days out the year that I was not focused. And fellas, that's 30% of the year. And that's just to put things in perspective as far as social media. We're not adding the other distractions that I was indulging in, as far as like chasing women, alcohol, outside, Netflix, and the other things that come about. And this is why clarity is power, fellas. You need a vision so damn strong that temptation starts to look small. I'm not gonna lie, fellas, these last 2 weekends, I was able to beat the fear of missing out. And instead of me going out and doing things I probably had no business doing, I decided to stay in, shoot a video, edit a video, schedule a video, making sure that I was continuously dropping content. And to be honest, fellas, I felt more fulfilled doing that, knowing that I was actually doing something productive, than going out, having drinks, and waking up hungover, missing the gym the next day, and regretting every decision that I made. And this brings me to my next point. The second thing you need, fellas, is sacrifice. The magnitude of your sacrifice will always correlate to the magnitude of your success. Everybody wants the reward, but very few people want the sacrifice that's attached to it. People see your physique, but they don't see the hours. They don't see the early mornings that you're putting in at the gym. They may see the money, but they didn't see when I was locked in my room for 6 months studying. They might see the confidence now, but they don't see the years of self-discipline, the years of making promises and being strict on myself and following through. They didn't see the years of being denied or being rejected and having to learn and then go back and try again and overcome those rejections. Everybody wants to become somebody until it's time to sacrifice comfort. You may have to sacrifice sleep. You may have to sacrifice relationships. You may have to sacrifice parties, validation, entertainment, temporary happiness, because if you don't sacrifice for your future then becomes the sacrifice. And fellas, trust me, I know it's easier said than done, but you got to understand, there's some guys that sacrifice discipline now, then later on they sacrifice their finances, their marriage, their health, their peace. What you got to understand, fellas, we're always making sacrifices. Something is always getting sacrificed. You can never gain something without losing something. So yeah, fellas, you can go ahead and sacrifice your discipline now. Instead of locking yourself in your room for 6 months and learning something and building a business, you can go ahead and chase them chicks. You can go ahead and party every night, take them on dates, spend your money on liquor, spend your money on junk food, skip the gym. Go ahead and sacrifice your discipline, because in that moment you're going to be happy. But this is where it gets real tricky, because later on down the line, it may not happen in a couple weeks, it may not happen in a couple months, it may not even happen in a couple years, 5 years, 10 years from now. Those choices are going to catch up to you. So whether you sacrifice the fun now or the fun later, something is always getting sacrificed. But the question is, are you sacrificing for your growth? Are you sacrificing for your potential? It is statistically proven, fellas, that delayed gratification and self-control are strongly associated with higher achievement and long-term life satisfaction. Meaning the ability to say no now directly impacts your future success. And that's powerful, fellas, because discipline isn't punishment. Right? That's the wrong way to look at discipline. Discipline isn't punishment. Discipline is protection. Number 3, fellas, you have to pass tests. And this is where most people fail, because people think tests just come as pain, struggles, hardships, losses. But some of your biggest tests in life come wrapped as gifts. The test comes disguised as pleasures, opportunities, attention, comfort, validation. Fellas, I tell y'all all the time, I used to go out all the time, drink, party, around women constantly. And deep down inside, fellas, I knew that these things were stunting my growth, killing my ambition, killing my energy, because I was giving that energy to things that were actually destroying me. I was putting my pleasure first. Every time you choose your pleasure over your discipline, you will always pay for it later. You may feel good tonight. When I used to be at the clubs drinking, section full of women with the homies, it definitely felt good for the night, but it destroyed my tomorrow. When I used to wake up hungover, no energy, skipping the gym, feeling sick, feeling terrible, putting off the important tasks that I had to do for that day because I just didn't have the energy to do it because of the decisions that I made the night before. So those fun todays can result in a weak tomorrow, a distracted tomorrow, an unfocused tomorrow. And that's the trap, fellas. But like I said earlier, lately I've been doing way better with this. Handling my tasks accordingly, avoiding the fear of missing out, avoiding alcohol, avoiding distractions. But then I started to notice something. The closer I get to my goals and the closer that I get to the things I wanted to accomplish, the harder the test became. Fellas, I'm telling you, when you getting closer to your goals, the women start to look a lot better. That junk food start to taste a lot better. That alcohol gets to taste a lot better. That alcohol gets to taste a lot better. That temptation gets stronger. It's like life is asking you, do you really deserve this next level? Like, I've placed these tests in your face to really see how bad you want to take it to the next level. And honestly, fellas, I look at it like a game. Like, I love that shit because resistance reveals character. Those are the moments that I prove to myself who I'm becoming. Those are the moments I prove to myself that I'm worthy of what I'm asking for. I'll tell y'all about one of the nights I got tested. On one night specifically, I wasn't even planning on going out, but my cousin invited me out, right? And I was just like, why not? Like, you know, I had a good week or whatever. Like, I didn't really have too much going on. So I was like, fuck it, why not? I'm out, I'll pop outside. I completed everything on my power list for the day. And like I said, I had a good week. It was just me, him, a few of the homies. And y'all know how the clubs go. Eventually some girls came around too. And then my cousin asked me if I can get a bottle. Now, before I even left the house, I already told myself that I wasn't gonna be drinking. But I ended up buying a bottle of Azul. It came out to like, I think like $800, $900. Now y'all know how it go. They bring the bottle to the section, sparklers everywhere, music blasting, DJ shouting you out on the mic. Everybody in the section around me was recording a light show. Now, mind you, besides my cousin and the two homies that I had there, everybody else that was in the section, I don't even know these people. But at that moment, fellas, it was like a feeling. It was like a feeling came over me. Like I felt like validation because I've been working so hard. I've been sacrificing. I've been grinding, and seeing everybody around me happy due to my sacrifices, that actually made me feel good. Then a voice came in my head, was like, Gib, you work hard. You deserve this. You deserve a drink. You deserve to relax. And that's how that temptation was talking to me. Because temptation doesn't always sound evil, right? Temptation may not even sound evil sometimes. It usually sounds reasonable. That's why a lot of weak men often justify their destruction. But I didn't drink, fellas. That night I did not drink. But I do remember sitting there and realizing that the tests are always there, right? And the harder the test gets, that just means you're getting closer to where the fuck you're supposed to be. Just because you feel pressure does not mean you should fold. Just because you feel like you deserve a reward doesn't necessarily mean that that reward aligns with your purpose. Fellas, a lot of guys in HTU, a lot of you guys who watch my video, you guys are young, maybe in college, maybe high school, maybe you just graduated college. You may be struggling financially right now and you're still making terrible decisions. You're still buying weed and smoking constantly, drinking constantly, playing the video games all day, sleeping with chicks who don't give a fuck about you, and you think success is magically just gonna fix you. No, fellas, that's not how that works. Success doesn't change you. Success just amplifies who you already are. If you can't control yourself with little money, what do you think is gonna happen once you become rich? If you can't fight the temptation to yourself to say, no, I'm not gonna drink, what do you think is gonna happen when the club starts giving you free bottles? When that beautiful bottle girl walks past your section and offers you a free shot? If you can't control your lust and your desires now, what do you think is going to happen once women start throwing themselves at you? When your status rises, when that temptation increases. If discipline doesn't exist before success, success will destroy you. We're looking at it firsthand right now with Adrian Broner, 4-time world champion, millionaire, probably one of the most talented boxers that ever put gloves on. But he didn't have the discipline. He didn't have the structure. When he finally got the money, he was still Adrian Broner, but it amplified exactly who he was. It amplified his bad decision making. It amplified his gambling. It amplified his alcohol intake. This is the reason so many celebrities, athletes, and rich people self-destruct, because money just increases their access, but never increase their discipline. Fellas, you gotta understand, once you reach a certain level right? Once you become him tier, your habits scale with your success. That's why you must master yourself now in the trenches. You can't mix your old self with your new self. A lot of you keep repeating cycles. Every time you make some progress, you go back to the same things that's holding you back. Old environment, old habits, old people, old addiction. Fellas, if I went back to chasing women every day, being irresponsible with my money, partying constantly, I will become my old self again. And I realized you can't build a new life with your old mindset. It's impossible to evolve while feeding your old demon. You gotta be conscious, fellas, because your old identity is always waiting for you to come back. And the crazy part is it only takes a few compromises to return. That's why consistency matters. Not for 30 days, not for 90 days, but for life. This self-improvement journey, being him, it never stops. The bigger you get, the harder those tests are going to become. But understand this, fellas, strength only comes from resistance from temptation, not avoidance. We're not avoiding that shit. Anybody can stay disciplined when temptation isn't around. The real test is who you become when temptation is looking you dead in your eyes. Fellas, I'm gonna leave you with this, right? One day your life is going to split into two versions. The version of you that kept compromising, and then the version of you that stayed disciplined. One version becomes average, distracted, regretful, but then the other one becomes dangerous, respected, powerful. And the scary part is, the difference between those two men comes down to those small daily decisions that nobody sees. Every temptation you resist, you become stronger. Every compromise you avoid, you become more valuable. Every promise you keep to yourself, you build self-respect. Never compromise who you're becoming. Never compromise who you're becoming for temporary pleasures, because purpose requires sacrifice. If you're really trying to become a him tier man, that's going to require standards, fellas. If you want me to help you build yourself and build discipline that actually lasts, stop self-sabotaging your potential, create structure, purpose, and direction in your life, then click the link in the description below. Book a call and we'll see if you're a good fit. But understand this, fellas, this is not for everybody. A lot of people like the idea of growth, but they don't actually want the sacrifice attached to it. You've seen the work, you've seen the mindset, you've seen the grind, you've seen the consistency. So if you're serious about changing your life, let's get to work then, fellas. Because once you commit to this journey, it's no longer just you. At that point, it's us. We almost 50% through this year. We got no more time to waste. As always, fellas, it's time to perform.